Okay. I think I talked about. Oh, Rumpelstiltskin. I want to talk about Rumpelstiltskin. Um, yeah, I'm gonna do a video about Rumpelstiltskin. That's an alchemical story that I think I need to do a video about. But one of the things I want to do was talk about the word witchcraft. Okay? Witchcraft is a word that is saying Satanist. It's important for us to know that we had all the technology that we had before. We not only had the technology that we have now, but we had technology where we could move um, the blocks that were moved to build the pyramids, the blocks that were moved to build those old, ancient oh, monuments that you see with the um, huge blocks of stone. Now, when we had the technology, we were cultivating godships, and we were connecting with greater consciousness because as beings, we are more advanced than any being that we're going to build. But the technology that we need to do those kinds of things come through connections. So it doesn't come through things that people create. That technology comes through things that people connect to. In order for us to truly evolve, we will not do that through the machines that we build, but we will do that through the things that are more advanced than us. So to evolve, you have to go to the stars and the planets. Consulting the stars and the planets is evolution. And the stars and the planets tell us what to do. And so will entities in consciousness who are more dimensional. Now, if you want to know about dimensions, you take the dimension that you're in, multiply that by itself, and what you get is the next dimension. Dimensions in sacred texts are the zeros that you see when we take measurements. If there's 6 zeros behind the sun's measurement, if it's 864 with 6 zeros, then the sun is 6 dimensions. And so that is an exponent of this dimension of 6. And then the sun would speak and speak through all of those dimensions as the sun speaks. It's the same with everything. All of, and the grid, the living grid, is something that I see every day. I can perceive the living grid. We're all connected through sound wires if you want to know how we work. There are sound wires attached to all of us. And those sounds are projecting us as light in this dimensionality. Some light over here. um, the reason I'm talking about this now, um, because we should have a discussion about witchcraft, and we should have a discussion about what witchcraft is, how it is affecting everyone, and why everyone is so subdued. Hi, how are you? That even though there are many things happening around you, you may not be reacting the way that you should to those things. Okay, so recently there's a story that was all over TikTok, and a bunch of the Epstein files. And one of those stories was, hi, I'm bi. You're gay, I'm bi. One of those stories is that Trump cut the head off of a child in a river. Now, of course, he would do something like that because he used witchcraft to get the presidency. Matter of fact, most presidents in the world right now have used witchcraft to become presidents. The fact that you all are subdued when you hear that is an issue. Okay? Witchcraft subdues, it subjugates and oppresses and enslaves. Now, there is magic. There's good magic and there's evil magic. All evil magic we call witchcraft. That's the way we called it in the ancient times. But through manipulation of language, evil has manipulated people into thinking that witchcraft is all magic. But no. When we refer to witchcraft in the ancient times, we refer to Satanism. Okay? Satanism was being persecuted in Britain. So Satanists got on a boat to come to the United States wanting to openly practice Satanism. And they did. They very openly practiced Satanism and established a country via Satanism. And you can trace their family lines back to Britain, whom have done that. Columbus also Satanist, Constantine Satanist. So the thing about this now is I've been hearing from Greater Consciousness this more and more recently. We cannot, well, not we cannot. I evolve and I always am an evolving being. And I did experience an attack on me because those who do witchcraft who do attack me did not want me to be Horemaket. They didn't want me to be the horse in or on the horizon. And so they have put hexes and curses on me and my family because I'm telling you all the truth. I'm telling you all what is the sacred text. I will always be, I am always, I will always reincarnate. I'm one of the only people in the world who have an understanding I will always reincarnate. But realistically, there is a John 3:16 is about a generation of people who cultivated Godship and will always reincarnate. So there is not only me, there are others who were also a part of that generation who were cultivating Godship. Now, the thing about technology is when you read sacred text tells you to beware of electricity. The reason it tells you to be wary of electricity and to is because electricity is not evil, but it is not the most evolutionary or most advanced technology. The most advanced technology that we have is what we connect with. When we connect to the stars and beings of other planets in more dimensions, that is a more advanced technology. Satan has used that technology, but in a very evil way. Okay? We don't have to call people on the phone. We can project. We can astral project and meet and talk to people in person. We can see the future and the past. And in fact, Satanists use that they can manipulate futures and past by manipulating sound. Sound can manipulate a person's life. You are sound projected into light. We are all sound projected into light. So if someone repeats something constantly, that sound will manipulate the person and the person's life, not just the future, not just the person in the present, but the future and the past also, depending on whether or not it's repeated enough, and depending about on who in consciousness that person is a part of. Because if that person is a part of a bigger entity, we're all a part of bigger entities. But if that person is a part of a bigger entity or being, well, I'm a part of a bigger being, not entity. But we're all a part of bigger entities or beings. Depending on how it affects that being or that entity. Now, there are entities who are evil, beings who are good. The reason why I call the entities evil entities is because entities will not last. They will have, they will be like the Little Mermaid says. They'll foam up like sea foam and then they will disappear, never to be seen again. Because the Little Mermaid is an alchemical story, and that, when she talks to her grandmother, is illustrating how those who use witchcraft will gain something in the one atmosphere in that lifetime. And after they do that, they will never reincarnate again. This is important because when you hear things like Trump cutting off the head of a baby in a river, to not do anything is a subduing. And I've been wondering about you people who believe in Christianity, because you believe that there's going to be some omnipotent God who's going to forgive all your sins, but that God did not prevent the sinners from doing some atrocious things. There are very many babies disappearing. Do you believe that those babies are disappearing and dying or being tortured to death by some Satanist or being raped? Because whatever God you believe in doesn't care about the babies, but they do care about the sinners. Because I don't understand your God. Your God seems a bit crazy, that your God will watch a baby get tortured and raped to death, but will forgive the sinner who raped and tortured the baby, but not save the baby. It seems very odd and backwards. I don't understand your God. Your God is insane. It doesn't make any sense to allow someone to rape a baby to death. and then forgive them. That's insane. And so I wonder all the time, how could some of you believe that? Because that's insane. Um, and what are you thinking about that? And I tell you, Abraham is good people. They became a mountain of strength to get expansions, and they decide to kill joy and laughter, which is what Isaac's name is, joy and laughter. But they got help from out of the bush because they got a ram out of the bush. A ram is part of the Zon, Tzon, sheep and goats, because sheep and goats are the support, and they're the people who help the person or the nation climb in the society. So I'm wondering all the time, why do you think your God was okay with Abraham killing a baby, an innocent child that he loved that didn't do anything wrong? Why would Abraham have to promise him or be tested? What kind of God would reward a man who would agree to kill his own child? Now, if you know about Satanism, Satan does that all the time. But what kind of God are you worshiping? If you were asked to agree to kill your own child, would you do it? If he said, don't do it over here, go climb that mountain over there, then kill him. So you can't kill him in front of nobody. Because people theorize that the reason he said climb the mountain was the child's mama would stop him, because they thought Sarah would stop him. Because they don't know alchemy. So they have come up with a reason why God would ask someone to kill a child. So I don't understand your logic. That sounds insane to me, that God would ask someone to agree to that. And so this is where I'm getting to. Those three main sects who became religion, it was three main sects of Satanism that became religion: Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. In fact, in the sacred text, if you look in the Bible, it tells you the Jews were the punks. They were the ones who were uncourageous and who were hiding. The Hebrews were the administrators. They were the ones who were running everything and built the nation. When you that you're supposed to turn the other cheek, and you believe that you're supposed to forgive every sin, I feel like that's unseen when you're waiting on Jesus and you ain't seen Jesus. We ain't seen Jesus in thousands of years. That's insane to be waiting on something you ain't seen in thousands of years. And so my job, my being, my birth is to get through to you and to help you to perceive what it is that you are reading in that text, and that text is alchemy. All sacred text is alchemy equations. All of it. The Giza complex, an alchemic equation. Aztec complex, alchemic equation. We knew technology. We know the technology to move those 10,000, to move those 1,000-ton blocks or more and more weight into places and build pyramids. But at the moment, it's hard to get people to realize, even when they know that the Bible says Elohim, they still say God. That, okay, so they're ignoring what sacred text actually is, and they're ignoring their own lives. How can you ignore your own life? How dare you work until you're 65 and give evil people and generate evil people's money and luxuries? How dare you? When you could have a paradise right now. luxuries for evil. The paradise is all around you. Look at the earth. She makes soft grass for your feet. The sun warms you. The sun is a gorgeous being. Stars are the most gorgeous beings, and they teach us. She gives you food that actually tastes good. What are you doing every day? Now, I was attacked by witchcraft, and before that, I was told not to work. Well, before I knew I was being attacked, I was told not to work, and I was made not to work a regular job. I can have a business, but not, I can't do work that generates luxuries for evil people. Oh, I interpret all texts, not only the Bible. And the Bible, the King James Version, King James is Satanist. So I read the real Hebrew. I interpret the sacred text from Hebrew and from whatever language is the sacred text is written in. And there are sacred texts all over the world. The Bible is not the only sacred text. As a matter of fact, the Bible itself is a sacred text. That Bible that you're reading is based on a sacred text, but it is a satanic manipulation of that sacred text. Okay, now these things are very important. They're being repeated because I already did this speech, but they're being repeated because more and more I'm being evoked to repeat the things that I've taught. And I think I'm being evoked to repeat the things that I taught because there are some people who haven't heard it yet. There are some people who don't know that we cultivate Godship and the gods rest on the seventh day because man becomes God. And in the Hebrew, it says man makes the seventh day holy, not God. There are some people who don't know about Abraham. There are some people who don't know about Shemot. And because those who are, in the meantime, while I'm trying to figure out how to end the hex that they put on me and the curses because they sent spirits to unalive me, Satanists did that. Um, I'm also, someone is projecting on me in order to change my past and future. Now, I know they will not change my future, but they have done some really devastating things to my past. And they do that by chanting and repeating and connecting with entities.